entire meeting? I know you're doing jury selection, and Mr. Houck said that he might stop in later.
Yeah, Terry's still doing jury selection. He plans on stopping in if he's turned loose, but I'll be here for the whole meeting.
Okay, because what I was going to do was that as far as personnel goes, the first two are district attorneys, and I was going to push those to the end for on his behalf. Should I do them in the original order?
Yeah, there's no assurance that he's going to be turned loose even towards the end. They're trying to wrap a number of things on at least the preliminary capital case selection.
Fair enough.
So why don't we do it at the start?
Yeah, okay, we'll do it at the start like we planned. I'm just waiting to see.
Okay.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 of us here, and that's a quorum. So, Aileen, any word from Carrie?
Terry Myers.
Yeah.
I sent the new email with today's invite to him just a moment ago.
Okay. All right. Well, just so everybody, so we're
Kevin Lott just said he needs the link. If Aileen, if you could send that to him. He just texted Ken Kraft here in our room.
Didn't he just send? Okay, she's just sent it
All
out.
right.
Sounds cool.
I see Lori's head in a wreath. I don't see her face, but I see her forehead and I see a wreath.
Yeah.
Oh, there she is.
Been a long day on the sofa, my friends. Been a long day.
Oh yeah, you got like a halo over you.
Okay,
Maybe it'll work.
I have my hockey puck that I always like to keep. So instead of a gavel, I have my hockey puck.
That's so funny.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get started. I just want to say something that we're going to. This is going to be our first completely virtual meeting, so we're all going to have to be patient and respectful of each other. And I've been part of 2. I know some of you have been as well. As chairman of the Redevelopment Authority in Bethlehem and the Airport Authority, we've been doing it pretty much all year, and it's gone well. It's gone very well. Everybody's patient, respectful. They've been orderly. I've worked out procedures with Aileen and Linda, and I'll be responsible for how the meeting is conducted. And so please direct any concerns to the chair. If you want to be recognized, let me know. If you are muted or not called on as soon as you want, it is in pursuit of an orderly meeting or an oversight. Everyone will be afforded the opportunity to speak when recognized. And if members speak over one another, you may be momentarily muted to restore order. And this goes out for council members, just so we're clear on this, because I know there were some questions. How this procedure works out for what we're doing today. Personnel requests and upgrade positions will be reviewed and voted on by motion unless a voice vote is requested. And then they will be presented to County Council for approval at the meeting of December 3rd. Proposed amendments to the proposed county budget and capital improvements plan will be reviewed and voted on by motion unless a voice vote is requested to present to the whole of County Council for approval at our meeting on December 3rd. Anyone could pull their amendment at this meeting if they wish to. The amendments that were passed by a motion would be put on the list that Brandon and Linda will put together tomorrow, and they will be attached to the resolution and the amendments to be voted on with the budget. At the time the resolution is introduced at the County Council meeting on December 3rd, a motion could still be made to remove or add any amendments that were discussed at this meeting then the list would be changed accordingly at that meeting. A vote will be taken on the resolution adopting the amendments on the list or revised list. Then a vote will be taken on the budget as amendments. So we're clear. This isn't a county council meeting. It's much like a committee meeting. Actions taken at this meeting can only be officially approved or denied at a full county council meeting. So there we go. And just to give you an example, something could move forward today on a vote of 5-4. It'll move forward and it'll be put on the list. But on Thursday night, between now and Thursday night, somebody might call someone and switch somebody's vote, or maybe somebody will have an epiphany. And they can say, hey, I want to have that, I want to pull that, or I want to make a motion to vote, put that back on the list, and it could end up on the list. So don't put too much thought into it, but I would say, for the most part, everything you do today will probably be how it goes on Thursday. All right?
Got it.
Got it. Okay, so here we go. First, I got to start with courtesy of the floor. Waiting. Aileen?
Yes, if there's anyone who wants to speak for courtesy of the floor, you can raise your hand, or if you're on the phone, dial *9.
All right. I don't see anyone.
Okay, you're good.
Okay, all right, then let's start. Review of personnel requests. And I said we have to bear with each other, and I beg you to. All right, the first is the resolution, the district attorney's office, the county detective. We have discussed these, I realized during budget hearings, but this is the point where we decide if we're moving them on or not. Is there any discussion? It's the full-time position of county detective for January 1, 2021. Any questions, concerns?
Yeah, I have
Yes,
one.
Bill.
I was going to draft a resolution. I was kind of looking at a part-time position. I had mentioned it during the budget hearings.
This is for the detective.
Yeah,
For the
this is
county detective.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. All right. No, that wasn't the one.
All right, the county detective. Pay grade DE 25 1A, salary 57,516 shall be created in the district attorney's office. Is there any further discussion on that? If not, I have a motion to move it on.
I'll make a motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's moved on. Next one is the district attorney's office, that one full-time position of public relations administrator, pay grade CS 21 1A, salary 46,097 shall be created effective January 1st. Make a motion, discussion.
I'll make a motion.
I have
All
a
right.
comment.
Bill, go ahead.
I apologize.
Thank
This
you,
is
Carol.
the one I wanted to talk about earlier, speak about. I was going to create an amendment to this. I had mentioned during the budget hearings, I kind of thought it would be good to ease into this with a part-time position. After thinking about it, look, if this is what they, I listened to the DA during the budget hearing. He really spoke that he needed this position, and so I drafted it, but I pulled it. And I just want to let everybody know that. I know it didn't go out, but I just want to let you know I did draft a part-time position. I changed my mind and I pulled it. So this is where we're at for now with me.
All right. All right, any further discussion? All in favor of moving it forward, say aye.
Aye.
All right, this one's going forward. Next, we have court administration. Pay grade CR 15-1A, 29,825.
Ron, can't hear you. When you turn your head, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I apologize. I was told, they told me I have an old computer that has a mic that only shoots directly within like a 30-degree range straight in front of you. So I'll do my best adjusting papers and going forward. But I guess I need a new computer with a new mic. So Northampton County Council has been given the clerical tech 3 position for court services administration. Motion.
I'll make a motion.
Tara, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that moves forward. Next, we have the off as I go here. Court Services Criminal Division, a clerical technician 3. Have a motion to move that forward.
So moved.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, good, that moves forward. All right, next we have Court Services Archives Division, Clerical Technician 3. Do I have a motion to move that forward?
I'll make a motion.
All right, Tara. Discussion? Seeing none, call, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, good. Next, we have Department of Public Works, Parks Recreation, Parks Maintenance, Summer Staff. Motion,
I'll make a
So
motion.
moved.
all right. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Department of Human Services, Area Agency on Aging, van driver.
Motion.
Okay, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that moves
Want me
on.
to, do you want me to bring up the drug stuff tomorrow morning? Because he was asking about it today.
Who's talking?
Okay, just let me
We'll see
know.
what happens tomorrow.
Okay.
It's Linda.
All right, anyway. Next, we have the Department of Human Services, Aging, the clerk typist 2.
Motion.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that goes forward. Next, we have Department of Human Services, Mental Health Accountant 2.
Motion.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, good.
Aye.
Next, we have Department of Administration, Conduct of Elections, and Elections Technician.
So moved.
Okay, discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay. Right, now we're going to go to the regarding the upgraded positions. All right, first we have the Department of Fiscal Affairs Budget Administrator. Now,
So moved.
so moved. Is there a discussion? Is there a discussion on that? Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I won't be supporting this position. The person in the position has only been there for approximately a year. Just because we replace somebody who was making a much higher salary, I don't believe that that automatically entitles the person who we put in that position to that higher salary. And we're already giving a 3% raise. So when I looked at the combined raise, I simply couldn't support this for an employee who's been in the position for barely a year. Thanks.
All right. Any other discussion? Anybody want to be recognized? Tara,
The net change is, am I correct, $4,333?
I'd have to look at the sheet, but you're probably right. Well, yeah, total with salary is $669. That includes the pennies.
Right, because it incurs the FICA and the workman's comp, which is an extra $4 per year.
Ms.
Right.
Zirinsky's number is
No.
correct.
Excuse me, Steve?
Ms. Zirinsky's number is correct.
Thank you.
Right.
That doesn't seem like a huge net change. The position that we're eliminating is $96,288,000. I have no objection to this and I will support it. I feel like the budget administrator deserves, that little bit of extra, $4,333. It's not a huge change. I will support that.
Further, anybody else?
Question,
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
the person here, have they worked for the county and worked their way up? Or are they somebody new coming in or?
Mr. Dunstane has worked for the county for how many years, Brandon? 12. He's worked for the county for 12 years, so he's been here almost as long as I have. In that time, he has been an accountant too. He has actually been an auditor too. And then he moved into a position in the fiscal affairs department when it became available and then was promoted from that position. So this is a job he has worked very, very hard for and garnered the knowledge to serve council and serve the county with the loss of Duran, to retirement.
Thank you. Any other further discussion?
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
Lott?
Mayor?
Where's the link?
Yes. I was just curious. I heard the number 90,000 for the retiring employee. What would this rate bring the
Okay, let me try.
employee up to?
He would be, I believe, in hold on one second. What would it be? What
Password?
would your salary be?
See, this shouldn't ask you this.
Hello.
You're not the meeting host. Let me take
What?
this.
What?
Let me try again.
It says on my paper.
Yeah.
When Duran retired,
Hold it. Go ahead, Steve.
when Duran retired, he was at approximately 130,000. This position now would be paid what is it?
$79,930.
$79,900.
Thank you. You answered my question.
All right, any other discussion on this position? If not, I'm going to call for the vote. Is there we made a motion to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it moves on. Next, we have Department of Fiscal Affairs Fiscal Administrator.
This has never done this before.
And that is
Is
the
your camera on?
pay grade
Okay.
CS 32-1A salary 76,459
No.
upgraded to CS 32-2B salary
Yeah, it's
79,931.
usually right here.
Excuse me, Mr. President, I'm getting background voices. and
Yeah,
it's-
I know, so am I. I saw mine. All right, we'll address
You know, then your name.
We're
comes
working
up.
to resolve it.
Because it's, look, it's like, it's showing,
All
because
right.
if the video is
Resolve it,
registering
guys.
on,
You
so if
can
you say
hear me.
stop video, it's just your
Here,
name.
all right,
If
is
you
there a
do
motion
it's
to move
black,
this
but it's
forward?
green.
If you
Motion.
go and look at
Can't hear you.
peppers,
I'll make a motion.
I'll
Send him an email.
Oh,
Elaine,
I can make a comment.
mute, Elaine, everybody.
What was that about?
That's Elaine. Elaine,
Yes.
all right. Whatever that. going on.
Terry, this is.
We can't hear you, Ron.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me? I'm unmuted on my computer. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No,
Thank
we
you.
did now.
Aileen,
I'm sorry. Yes.
whatever's happening in the back, they have to either stop, take it to
Will-
another room.
Will is taking care of it right now.
Well, it's been being taken care of for a while now. It's disrupting the meeting. So either take care of it in another room or take care of it within like 30 seconds.
Security?
Because we hear Linda, we hear others, it's bothering people can't hear what I'm presenting.
Okay.
So
Should just be like a little plastic.
I'll just speak loud, and you're all just gonna have to try and listen well, and hopefully they'll stop soon. All right. Position of fiscal administrator, pay grade CS 32-1A, upgraded to CS 32-2B. Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Discussion. All in favor, moving it forward?
Aye.
Good, great, moving forward. Next, we have a Department of Human Resources, leave administrator.
Motion.
Motion made, discussion.
Move.
Seeing none, all in favor, move forward?
Aye.
All right, good. Next, we have Department of Community and Economic Development, Community and Economic Development Specialist.
Hey, Ron,
Ron, Lori's got her hand up.
it looks
Well,
like
all right,
everybody,
thank you. I mean, no, I, Lori,
If you click on participate.
go ahead.
it looks like everybody's muted. They have to go and unmute themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, but we weren't allowed. That was my point. Council should be allowed to unmute themselves. We can't make motions if we can't unmute ourselves. There was other people trying to set up their thing. So yes, I'd like to promote this. I'd like to make a motion.
All right. Anything else you want to say? I'm not promoting it.
Ron, you're fading in and out.
This is the
All right,
Community and
the motion's
Economic
been-
Development Specialist.
A motion's been made for this position. Any other discussion? All in favor of moving it forward?
Aye.
Good, let's move forward. Next, we have the Sheriff's Department, 2 clerical specialists. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Kerry. Discussion? None? All in favor of moving it forward?
Aye.
Aye. It's forward. Department of Corrections, Public Safety Administrator.
So moved.
I'll oh yeah, okay, got it.
Okay. Is there discussion?
Move it along.
Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We have Department of Human Services, Area Agency on Aging, Administrator.
So moved.
Motion.
A discussion? All in favor, moving it forward?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi. Oh, hi, Terry, you're here. All right, well, now what we're going to do is we're ready to move on to the budget amendments to the proposed 2021 budget.
Hey, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
real quick, I'd just like to say that there wasn't a lot of discussion and debate under most of these, and just so everybody here knows, the people that are watching, that a lot of this was already discussed during our budget hearing meetings.
Yes,
Which were pretty long, and I don't know how many days of it, so I think just want to make that comment.
Thank you. Bill. That's important. All right, well, now we're going to go on to the budget amendments. And let me get my budget amendments here, because this will be a bit more involved. Okay. Interesting. No, that's all right. Just forgot. We're gonna have general government administration. This is from the executive. Are there any questions or comments regarding the increase of $6,600 for OPEB retiree contribution?
Say that again, Ron, please.
All right. Are there any questions or comments regarding the increase of $6,600?
Can't hear.
I got my mouth against this computer.
Well,
Don't do that.
Ron, come a little bit further back from the speaker. Just
Thank you.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. I'm trying to not turn my head because you can't hear me, but I have
No,
to.
this is just something I don't have in writing, so I wanted you to repeat yourself, please. You said something about OPEB?
Yes. An increase of 6,600 for the OPEB retiree contribution. Are there any questions or comments?
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
All right, it's seconded. Call for a vote. Melinda?
What do you need, Ron?
Well, we're going to vote on these budget amendments.
Are you going to vote on them like by voice vote?
Yes,
Okay,
these will vote voice vote.
okay, hold on one second. Okay. Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
Yes,
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro's not here, Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
It passes by a vote of 8-0.
great. All right, next. General Government Administration, Farmland Preservation for Route 33 TIF. Are there any questions or comments regarding the addition and transfer of $260,000 in the budgetary fund balance? And for this, we do have administration people who can answer questions. Do I have a motion then to move
Motion.
forward?
I gave him motion.
Thank you, Kerry. Second?
Second.
All right, if there's no further discussion or questions, we'll call for the vote.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes,
Passes by a vote of 8-0.
all right, next we have General Government Administration, OSI Farmland Preservation, Route 33 TIF payment transfer to OSI. Are there any questions or comments regarding the transfer in of $260,200 for operations?
Motion.
All
Second.
right. Any other questions or comments on that? If
Who
not,
was this? Who was the second?
Kevin Lott.
Kevin.
Okay, thank you.
all right. Call for the vote.
Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes,
Passes by a vote of 8-0.
thank you. Next, we have Government Administration, Conduct of Elections, Additional Elections Technician. Are there any questions or comments regarding $59,000 to fund an additional elections technician?
Wasn't this the one that she came to us about during the meeting?
I believe so. We've heard about it a couple of times.
Do we not just vote on this yes to move it forward?
If somebody has a question about it, now's the time to ask or a comment. So, are there any other questions, Yes, Lori.
I'm wondering why are we voting on it twice? Because do we
This-
not just vote on it as a personnel matter?
This is a,
Lori,
mean?
this is the movement of the money for
Okay.
the position that you just put
Yeah.
through.
Thank you.
everything we're doing has a purpose. If we want to change the shape of the wheel, we can do that next year. So is it, did somebody make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second,
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, call for the vote.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
yes.
Ms. Zirinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
Yes.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 8-0.
Next, we have Public Works Administration. Are there any questions or comments concerning the increase of $9,000 for lower parking lot rental? Someone make a motion.
Go ahead.
Good. Terry made the motion, second.
Second.
Seconded.
That was Tom.
Discussion. Hello, discussion?
No.
I'm sorry, Tom was the second?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, call for the vote.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
Yes.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you. Well, I just looked up. I gotta get my makeup man in here tomorrow. Okay. Next, we have Public Works, Parks and Recreation. Any questions or comments regarding the increase of $36,800 for Fry's Run Park embankment delayed until 2021? And again, we've talked about some of these.
Ron, we lost you.
We've talked about some of these things.
Back up.
All right.
There you go.
Are there any questions or comments regarding the increase of $36,800 for Fry's Run Park embankment delayed until 2021? Yes, I just was pointing out, some of these things are familiar because they've come up in the past. But now we're actually voting on it with the money. Is there a motion?
I'll make a
So
motion.
moved. Second,
Okay, Tara and I think Lori.
Yep, I got that.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, call for the vote.
Ms. Zirinsky,
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
yes.
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
Yes.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 8-0.
Super. All right, next we have, now I do my new technique. Next, we have the Department of Community and Economic Development grants, the hydroelectric power plant. John Cusick made an amendment to take $1,277,400 from the hydroelectric power plant grant. So what I'm going to do is, John, I'm going to pass this now to you. This is yours. And you can talk about it and make the motion.
Sure. Real quick, everybody knows my position on this. I love alternative energy, but I don't think the taxpayers should be paying for it. 2 years ago, this passed, and since that time, we've heard little or nothing from the grantee. And I just simply don't believe this is a core function of county government or what we should be doing. So therefore, I'd like to make a motion to delete the amount from the budget.
All right, is there a second to Mr. Cusick's motion?
I do not want to second it, but I just wanted to discuss it. Can I do that?
Well, if there's no second, it's not going to get voted on, or come up. So if you can't get a second, I don't know if you need to say much. Will somebody second his motion? I'll second it for the purposes of discussion. Go ahead.
I would have, we voted on this power plant. It is something that's already in the making. We have a grant from the state and we also, a matching grant. And we also have the money that comes from the company who is putting in the hydroelectric power plant. Over the course of the years, we will actually save taxpayers money by putting this in, especially because we're only paying for what seems like less than a third of what this power plant actually costs, or a fraction of what this power plant actually costs. This will save taxpayers. And so I think that this is something that we should keep in the budget and we should keep moving forward. This moves us into a green energy future and into sustainability. And I think there's no reason why we should take this allocation out of the budget, because it might jeopardize the other money that we have and the whole entire plan that we already set forth.
All right. Thank you, Tara. I want to, yeah, Carrie, go ahead.
I need a little more explanation on this. Since this was done 2 years ago. Can somebody enlighten me a little bit more about this? How much have we put in? And what's the savings down the line?
All right, I'm going to recognize Mr. Steve Barron, who I saw just roll up to the microphone. So Steve, briefly, go ahead.
So briefly, what this is, Mr. Myers, is it is a matching grant. Back in 2018, this company came to us with the idea of putting in a hydro plant. They had 3 locations for these Archimedes screws that would generate a sustainable and feasible electric production. So we promised $1.5 million, which was up to what the state would match. The state came back with $1.4 million to match. Now, the project itself, Ms. Zirinsky is correct. We are putting in a little less than 1/3. A little less than 1/3 comes from the state, and the remainder is private investment from the New England Power Company that is putting this into Hugh Park. The city of Easton has already passed a resolution to allow them to do this. The FERC permits are in. We have paid approximately $80,000 in matching funds. We get the bills, we review them, the state reimburses, and then we reimburse. That's the way the program has worked thus far. So that is how the plan actually works. The grant has been extended because of COVID. So it was supposed to end at the end of next year, or at the end of this year, but it's going to end at the end of next year.
Thank you, Steve.
Ms. Vargo Hefner has her hand raised.
Ms. Vargo Hefner. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say something, but Tara already said it, is that we have partners in this and we have matching grants and we have things in the work. I would hate to stop that process in the middle. And I don't feel like we've expended, and we're not paying the 1.5 million at this point. So obviously, if somewhere along the line there is a problem and it doesn't go through, then the money's just comes back to us. We haven't expended it yet. So I wouldn't want to pull our matching funds at this time.
Anybody else have any other comments?
An update from the person, I think we should have asked for that, and we should ask for that next year if you want them to come back and speak more on it. I don't think they'd have a problem doing so.
All right, fair enough.
Energy environment.
Okay, hold on to any other comments? I would say, as a Pennsylvania Dutchman, John, I sympathize with your spending of money and where we spend it and how we spend it. I had once somebody said that you're worse than a Scotsman when it comes to money. I took that as a compliment. But I mean, I think there's a greater thing here, and that is, I saw something about the Great Smog of London. As much as I read history, I never realized this, but in 1952, because of all the coal-fired plants, because it was the cheapest way to do things, they just kept burning coal, the power plants and the houses. And there was an inverse cyclonic thing, and over 12,000 people died. And that helped move them to pass a Clean Air Act of '56. So I think we're going to have to make some investments for future generations, figuring out how maybe we're going to be able to, at all levels, to maybe help with some alternative energy. I don't think it's any longer a boutique idea. I think it's a survival idea for the future. So, as Lori said, we're not going to spend a nickel of this. And Steve Barron and I have spoken about this a few times until something starts happening. And if they don't get it going, they don't get it going. So I'll support it. All right. Is there any other discussion? If not, call for the vote. Linda?
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
No.
Mr. Giovanni. Tom?
He's
Yes,
on mute.
it's Michael.
He's mute. Tom, you're muted.
He's muted.
Mr. Lot,
Yeah, no.
Mr. McGee,
No,
no?
no, I will not
Okay.
support this amendment.
Mr. Myers,
No.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
No,
Ms. Zirinsky.
No,
Linda, and no for me, Linda.
Okay, thank you. It is not passed by a vote of 1 to 7.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the Department of Community and Economic Development Affordable Housing Future Grants. Mr. Kuzic made an amendment to add 20,000 for Habitat for Humanity and then take 20,000 from future grants. John, would you to do this, explain it? Or make
Sure.
yeah, go ahead.
When we went through the affordable housing grant, I had noticed that we hadn't heard anything from Habitat for Humanity in a few years. So I reached out to them with a phone call, and they indicated that they will be doing a project in the city of Bethlehem next year. Documentation should be attached. They sent a letter. Let's just make this clear. The money that this is coming from comes from a fee that people pay when they register deeds. So it comes out of the Affordable Housing Fund. We have used this before for Habitat for Humanity. The project that was described to me and that you see in your packet, I think certainly qualifies. And I'd make a motion that we increase that number from 0 to 20,000 for Habitat for Humanity's project in Bethlehem next year.
All right, is there a second to Mr.?
second,
Okay, Tara, did you second?
yes.
All right, discussion.
No, I think it's great.
Whoa. Mr. Lot, hold it. I need you to put your hand up so Linda or so Aileen could see. Mr. Lot, I saw you first.
Yeah, my question would be to the administration, because when we take something from one spot, is there going to be taking this 20,000 and put it to a good cause, Habitat for Humanity? Though we had to go ask them, and I'm kind of surprised we'd have to go ask them for it. But my question is, what's this being taken away from? Future grants? I'm sure that it's coming off of something. So I was just wondering what the administration, thoughts on where we're taking the money from.
All right, well, I see Mr. Barron, and now I don't see Mr. Barron. Oh, I see. So, okay, so could somebody from the administration touch base on this?
Well, if we take it out of the money for affordable housing, it'll just mean less mortgages that we can do. So the problem that we've had with Habitat in the past is they've been very lengthy and delayed processes. So we've just had to continue to roll over the money. So I don't know, like going forward, I don't know that their structure or anything has changed, but historically, that's why they've not been funded, because they don't complete the projects in a timely manner.
So am I correct to assume what you're saying is if we take this money and give it to Habitat, we're actually going to take it, which this money would go to keeping people in their homes, and now we're not going to be able to keep people in homes so we can build a new home. Is that correct? Is that where the money for?
No, pay for mortgages.
No, not the CMed program. This has nothing to do with the bucket of money that's keeping people in their homes.
Okay.
John,
This
I'll
is-
come back to you once everybody's talked. I'll come back to you.
What?
Explain what the program does.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, the affordable housing helps build affordable housing. So this would qualify for that. But we have other partners that we do that with, like CACLV and the RHAB, and we're doing other projects. The reason that Habitat has historically, like I said, the process has been delayed time and time again. So it's not that they haven't done good projects, but it doesn't move as quickly as we'd like it to.
so it's, to me, it's a wash then. It's serving the same purpose. But I will say we had to go ask them. So I don't know if the interest, was there so much, but that's fine. Thank you. It's pretty much a wash with what it accomplishes. Thank you.
Okay, now I saw, I don't know who else had it. I see Tara's hand is up, and then Carrie. Tara, Carrie.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask on this project, why an arbitrary amount of $20,000 was requested? Is there some sort of plan that would say how that money is being used beyond what this letter states? I mean, this seems to, they're proposing to build 2 new single-family homes on acquired land on William Street in South Bethlehem. So is there a project timeline that goes along with that? Or is this the only information that we have to go with?
I haven't,
Whatever's in this letter.
John,
I haven't seen any of it. This is the first time I'm actually seeing this letter, but I'm happy to contact them and get some more information unless Mr. Kusick has it.
all right, we're gonna talk now. John, I'm gonna recognize John, and then I'll come to Carrie and then Lori. You want to say something, John?
Yeah, sure. Just briefly, this came out of a phone call that I had. I did reach out to them directly, and the cost, we passed some numbers back and forth, but generally this would be to just pay for materials. And that is the purpose of this funding. It is a fee that we tack on when we record deeds. And the purpose of that is to fund affordable housing. This project, as you just heard, certainly qualifies. We just heard in the past that we have some grantees that don't get things done on a timely basis. Well, a lot of projects get held up, and with affordable housing, you have to work with Habitat. They have to work with the client. So, sometimes they don't always work out, and sometimes there's financial issues, but this money would go towards the cost of the building materials for affordable housing. I can't think of a better reason for this money.
So can I ask a follow-up question
Sure.
to what I had said?
Quickly.
So when you talk about having a plan, though, and you're saying that this money is for materials, and that during this COVID crisis, things are slowed down, if Habitat for Humanity relies on volunteers, will they have volunteers to use those materials in a timely manner? And is there a plan with which they could do that? Or are we just going to encumber this money for them, allocate it for them, and which we could be redistributing someplace else?
Yeah, the expectation is that they will complete this next year. That's their plan.
All right. I hear you, John. Next, Carrie Myers, then Lori.
No, basically, I was just going to echo the fact of the matter that how important it is for us to have low-income housing and to be able to aid people, because there are a lot of people who are hurting, and we shouldn't be stopping anything that can get anybody into a house. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Lori Bargo Hefner.
I guess my question was, if we don't approve it at this time, again, you reached out to them, they didn't come to us. But if they come forward next year with a more concrete plan and proposal, could it be accomplished in a budget amendment next year? Because it doesn't sound like you have all the data.
John?
Well, I think that it would be better for them to know that the funding is in place as they move forward with the project. I mean, we're not going to do a budget amendment usually till later on in the spring or early June sometimes. This would make it much easier for them to move ahead with the project in a timely manner if they were to know that the money were available for them, as soon as they break ground on the project.
All right, if I may, I don't see any hands up. I just want to say, it sounds like economic development doesn't feel that this is something they want to devote the money to. So I guess my question would be, John, we could, if people want to do this, I guess conceivably, the money could come out of our contingency for this year and apportion it for next year for this project.
Well, I would just say that generally that's not what, could we use the contingency for it next year? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that the reason why we collect this tax is for this purpose. So what my intent is to use the money for the purpose for which it was intended. The contingency fund, could we use it? Sure, but I don't think that's the reason why we have a contingency fund.
All right, Kevin Lott.
Yeah, but what I keep hearing, from John is, this is what the funds are for. They're being used for that. What you're doing is taking money from affordable housing and giving it to a different affordable housing. Am I, we're not taking it out of contingency fund. We'd actually be adding more to affordable housing. This way, you're just taking it from one end and giving it to the exact same thing, but a different end user, so to speak.
Yeah. To answer
and
that,
honestly, I rather see that. I understand Habitat, and I've heard it here today, and I've heard it through my career out there. Sometimes they're not the easiest to work with, and sometimes they don't actually get it done. So I don't know if I feel comfortable telling Department of Economic Development, use this end user opposed to that end user, because they're both doing the same thing the way I see it. Thank you.
John?
just to respond, this comes from money that is not being allocated. So right now, there is no other plan for that money. It's just part of the fund balance that we are sitting on. We collect this money from people that buy and sell homes in this county, and we have accumulated a fund balance. So right now, the administration Department of Economic Development does not have a plan for this money. So I think that this is a good use of this money that we are collecting from people that record deeds.
And in fairness, John, John, this is future grant. I mean, it's not like there's a concrete plan we've gotten where the dollars going to go here and there and everywhere. I'm going to get to Tina and Steve, but I want to go to Lori first. She had her hand up. Lori?
Oh, okay. I heard Tina mention the program that's used for mortgages. And so I would hate to take that money away from people who apply to that program as well, considering that a lot of people are deferring their mortgages this year, and some people could run into real trouble next year. So that money might need to be there. So I agree with Mr. Lott, although I disagree taking it from next year's contingency. We have money at this time in our contingency fund, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
I would want to take it from this year, because I think both projects are worthy. I would not want to take money away from people who need to apply, and there's $20,000 less for people who need that extra bump on their mortgage next year.
Okay, I'm going to, all right. Here's what I'm going to do. Let me just say something. Then I'm going to recognize Kerry, and then I'm going to recognize the executive because he came up to the podium. So let me just say, both of Habitat for Humanity and they're all great programs. I mean, it's a matter of what you want to put the money towards. So, I mean, that's why I was torn on this, because one's not like a bad program versus a good program. This is where we get into these issues, because you're usually dealing with good versus good versus good, and where do you want the money to go? So, Kerry, did you have something you wanted to say?
I think you said what I wanted to say.
All right, Mr. Executive. Lamont,
Muted.
you're muted.
Muted.
Muted. Aileen, he's muted. Mr. McClure.
He's still muted.
Still muted.
Mr. McClure is muted.
I believe I am unmuted. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Look, I started volunteering in my life with Habitat for Humanity. This is, as we all know, a wonderful program which is deserving of county support and has had county support in the past and will have county support in the future. I think what Ms. Smith is probably too polite a person to point out is there have been serious compliance issues with the Department of Community and Economic Development's compliance regime through the years. And these are all community and economic development professionals that we inherited, Ms. Smith and I. So we are trusting the professionals in this regard by not including any of their projects in this budget this year. That doesn't forestall a future inclusion of budgeted monies for Habitat for Humanity. But my suggestion would be, let's bring them in, let's work with them, and let's see if we can't come up with concrete projects with dedicated timelines in the future, maybe for next year's budget, to restart our relationship with Habitat for Humanity in a way that makes sense for everybody, including the folks who need housing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lamont. I would say, Bill, go ahead. Bill McGee.
Question from the executive. How much is this going to hurt our program if we pull 20,000 out? I mean, I listened to what you just said, and I understand that. But a little bit of seed money or something, or just a commitment level, or even if we spend half of that.
Well, those theoretically are mortgages that won't be lent in the future.
Whoa. Whoa.
Do we have a number on what the future grants we anticipate that's going to be, the total amount?
That's budgeted at 127,800 in the blue book.
Is that the blue book?
Page 66 in the blue book.
All right,
Am I correct, John? That's where you took it from?
Future grants, yes.
All right.
I'm sorry.
It depends. The future grants are.
And that was a budget increase this year of 19,000 and change.
All right, the administration's talking right now, so.
Yeah, what I'm being told by the fiscal administrator, the budget administrator, and Mr. Barron is, it just depends on how many mortgages are recorded in the future. That'll determine what the future grants are.
But what's been budgeted is 127,800.
Yes. Yes.
I guess, you know what, I'm actually, I agree with what you said. I'm a proponent of Habitat for Humanity, and I have been. I guess the concern I have, John, is you talk to them, but they didn't come in. And I mean, I would like to see them come in and make a presentation to us next year. And based on a presentation, if they really have a couple concrete ideas, I mean, I hear what Lamont, I think the directors are relying on past information from people who've been in the department. Now, I'm not going to say that they're wrong, or nor am I going to say Habitat for Humanity did anything wrong. But I think we need to hear from Habitat for Humanity. I do. Let's put it that way. I'm not opposed to what you want to do. I just don't want to move the money until I have them in front of me. So maybe we can ask them some questions and get some more concrete answers. That's just my opinion. Anyone else have anything they want to say? If not, let's call for the vote.
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky, Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
No.
Mr. Lot,
No.
Mr. McGee,
No.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky,
Is she muted?
She's
She's
muted.
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 You're muted. One for yes, two for no.
Is that she-
No,
Sarah, yes,
Yeah.
No.
no?
no.
It's a tie 4-4, so it fails.
All right. Now, again, if John can convince somebody, he can bring it up on Thursday. It's
All
not
right.
as close. But I,
I'd like to
yeah, I
hear
would,
them come in.
I want to reiterate
I'd
that
like to hear them.
I would like to hear them. too. I mean, it was a tough vote for me because, I mean, I'm listening to what they're telling me from economic development, but I've had experience with Habitat for Humanity, and I always found them to be top notch. Now, you know, it may bureaucratically, they may take time, or I don't know what the deal is. That was the first I've ever heard that they were slow or something about things, but I don't know. If we don't approve it this year, I certainly would want to hear from them next year. Let me put it that way. John, go ahead.
Then I'll call Jessica back and I'll see if she can appear on Thursday. I'd still like to push it forward. I hope she can send somebody on short notice, but
All right.
it'd be good to have the grant in place so they can use it next year.
Well, John, you know, you go ahead and do what you got to do. And right now it didn't move forward, but you, as you know, you can bring it up again on Thursday.
Yep.
So, all right, very good. Now we're going to move on to the district attorney, who I see. Oh,
Chairman,
Kevin.
may I be recognized for a minute, please, before you move on?
Well, all right, you, that Bill McGee, then Kevin.
Real quickly, I think it was a great idea. The reason I didn't support it this time is because I don't want to put anybody's mortgages in jeopardy. And I think this is probably one of the worst years that we're going to have with that. I don't really know how fast they come in, how much money they put out for each one, but I would not want to jeopardize that money. I think it's a great idea to seed Habitat for Humanity.
Yes, so do I. Kevin, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just, I think it's a good idea if John can get him in. I'd like to see a firm timeline on what they're looking on doing. It's, and maybe that's, maybe we can talk about the value of, we get not only a timeline, but actually the cost of the project. It almost sounds like they came up with the figure on a napkin, so to speak.
Let's not do more napkin talk.
Look at the napkins.
No, I thought we had enough napkin talk.
I heard that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a tough one, and we've already voted it down. But I mean, that we'd say the future grants, but we really don't know how many mortgage applications are going to come in. So I mean, neither one has a definite. It's not like we got a definite plan for mortgage help versus this. I mean, it's all up in the air at this moment. So that's why I said I was very torn on it. I'm sort of going with the department on this, but I'm more than willing to hear other voices. So if that happens, John, I'll listen. All right, now we're going to go, if that's it, to District Attorney, Regional Intelligence and Investigation Center. Lori Vargo Hefner made an amendment to take $50,000 from the Regional Intelligence Investigation Center to make it the same funding as last year. So Ms. Hefner, make a motion to present this to council?
Yes, I make a motion to present this to council. Do I need to speak to that or after?
Yes, you can speak.
Well, my thought in doing so is I listened to the presentation And I just am concerned with continuing bi-county ventures that I am unclear as to what we're actually gaining from that compared to how much we're putting in. And also, given that we just built a beautiful forensic center and we have yet to see what it can realize, I was hesitant to commit all of the money at this time. And I was proposing that we give them exactly what we gave last year at this time, see where we progress with our own forensic center, and then revisit this as a possible budget amendment later in the year. That was my thinking.
All right, well, we do have the DA is with us. And I mean, there may be some questions, but I'm going to let him speak to this now. Mr. Houck, if you want to.
Do I get a second or no?
Oh, wait, well, was there a second to her motion?
Second.
I'll second it.
All right, Mr. Giovanni
Thank you.
seconded it. Mr. Houck, go ahead.
Thanks. And I want to thank Councilwoman Vargo Hefner for calling me in advance of this. So, and explaining her position, which I respect. My fear in this, ladies and gentlemen, is that we're misunderstanding the RIC. I guess because you've been funded, you've been funding it, I just assumed you had an idea of what the RIC was all about. I had an opportunity to send a packet to you guys a couple of weeks ago, I think, and then I amended that with a packet that I sent a couple of days ago, and I hope you got that as well. This isn't really a bi-county venture, so to speak, as Ms. Vargo Hefner put it. I mean, the RIC is an operation that Lehigh County runs and has a budget, an operating budget of over $1.5 million a year. We use the RIC as they use it here in Northampton County. We don't get in line. We don't do what we're told from them. When we need it, we pick up the phone and we use it. We use it on almost every case involving ongoing criminal activities. Organized criminal activities, by the way, are increasingly becoming more complex and more sophisticated in their operations and reach. Gangs are more than just local homegrown, although they do exist. They go national and international, and the RIC serves as a central repository and forensic analysis center with an annual, as I said, with an annual budget in excess of $1.6 million. Our contribution of 100,000 pales in comparison to what we would have to pay on an individual basis, even if we could get access to such data on our own, which we can't. They receive, correlate, analyze, and disseminate the coordinated data from throughout the region as to gangs and other organized criminal activities. We use it. The police in Northampton County use it. Assets are used in preparation of trials and investigations. They assist in preparations of timelines, phone plots, etc. None of this is available through our coroner's office or forensic center. There's no training, no staff, no data collection, no analysis, etc. Without, I would suspect, without further $1 million county investment to establish such an ability with the right equipment and staff. We have already looked into outsourcing only the coordination of the assembly of local law enforcement reports, for example, and have been quoted a monthly fee of $10,000 just for crime data assembly, police reports, etc., and law enforcement community video bulletin boards. Simply not cost effective in comparison to the RIC. You've received their success stories, and you can tell now with the information that I've given you that this is not a 50-50 split. They are taking the lion's share of this payment, and again, they do not control us in any way. When we need it, we use it, and we also, as a side note, have access to the ballistics lab if and when we need it. So I consider this not only a critical venture, but I also consider it very, very cost effective for only the amount that I'm asking for. The Forensic Center does not and will not do this, at least not to my knowledge. And if they do, it will literally take them years to get anywhere near what the RIC does.
All right.
If anybody
Thank you, Terry. Any other council members? Anybody else have anything they want to ask? All right, yeah, I'm gonna go to Mr. Myers and then Mr. Lott. Terry,
Terry,
Okay.
is this also getting, some of the information you're getting is from this, Rick, are we getting anything from the federal government from that standpoint when your connections with FBI or something like that? Or is everything you're getting from there?
Are you talking about reports and stuff,
because-
Mr. Myers?
Yeah, you're talking about the information that you're collecting.
Oh,
especially-
yes, yeah, the federal government, thank you for bringing that up. The federal government does have information in the RIC, which I believe costs money, and also it requires certain, what am I looking for? They have to,
Security
background
levels
checks.
involved.
Yes, thank you. Security levels, they have to, I've been in court all day, you have to forgive me. But yes, and the federal government does have access to the RIC, and the RIC does have access to certain reports from the federal government, yes, that requires security clearances.
So we're getting a bunch of intelligence that we're not set up to do in our forensic center at this point right now, correct?
Yeah, there's no intelligence in the forensic center right now, nor was I ever made aware that would be a possibility. And even if they decided it would be, it would literally take years, as it had taken the RIC to do that.
That's all my questions, Mr. President.
all right, thank you. Mr. Lott,
My concern, Mr. DA, I mean, a couple things. What has changed? What are we getting in addition for $60,000 that we didn't get last year, number one? And the reason I'm asking this, the funding on this, it's a $1.6 million program. We're looking at over just around 100,000. So this must be funded much more by the state than it is by the counties. Now, what my concern is, if we start funding this more, the state's never going to come back and fund more. In fact, we're going to keep continuing funding this as the state cuts back. And I don't think the county can quite honestly put this on their taxpayers' back if this thing ends up being $500,000 a year for us. And I have a real bad feeling when the state budget comes next year, a lot of this money for this RIC's going to, do we end up losing this anyway because the state doesn't pay for it? Or do we end up paying for something the state should really be paying for and has been paying for? If you could address any of those, I don't know how much, is appropriate for you to address or not, but
Yeah,
go ahead.
my concern.
I'm sorry. The lion's share of this, from my understanding, is coming from Lehigh County and from grants. I don't know that the state is paying the lion's share of this. In fact, I don't believe they are. This just flat out keeps people safe. So it's a small price to pay, I believe, because without this information, you're talking about just systematic breakdowns of the system and stuff of that nature. Whether or not this can be continued through the years, I keep my fingers crossed. But if it's going to end next month, I would want to have it for the next 30 days. That's how important that this thing is. I have no intention of upping this to another level or anything like that. Although, truth be told, given that they do have a $1.6 million budget, 100,000 is a very cheap price to pay. And your original question as to Mr. Lott, that you asked me what has changed every single day, the need for technology just increases. I mean, there was a time when every now and then we would use a cell phone, or one of these big computers, and now people are walking around with their life in their front pocket with their cell phones and their cell tower hits and things like that. And I can tell you that this increases exponentially by the month and by the week, so that our need for it increases the same way. We use it much more than we did 6 months ago. We use it a lot more than we did a year ago. So a lot has changed, and a lot will continue to change. I can't predict the future. I pray what you say is not correct, and that experiences will tell us not that it won't increase. And I'm hoping that this regional crime center gets greater so that more places participate and hopefully kick in as well.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else want to be recognized?
Mrs. Vargo Hefner has her hand up.
Ms. Vargo Hefner.
Again, I appreciate what you're saying, but when we did a little background work, well, first I have another question. How many of our municipalities actually contribute to this? Not just the county.
I don't have any idea.
I do, all of them. They
Okay.
get police reports from all of the communities, all the police
I'll
departments.
get you them.
That's the value.
Contribute financially, sir.
That I can't answer, but they
That's-
contribute, I'm sorry, Lori,
And-
they contribute all their reports and all of their data. This is the repository.
See, the thing is,
We
Ms.
wouldn't have
Varga,
access to any of that with the RIC.
yeah.
I'll get you in a
The- the
minute,
thing is-
Carrie.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
The thing
Lori.
is,
No, I still have the floor. I'm having a conversation.
Yes, you do. I just
Thank
wanted him to not have to wave so much. Go ahead.
Thank you.
the answer to your question is, again, we're separating out agencies as if somehow this is not connected, and they're all connected. We need the local police departments, all of them, to give this information to us because it ends with us. We need the information on the gangs because we're the ones prosecuting the case. So whether or not they're kicking in money is irrelevant to me. I mean, I would love to see them do that, but it's not realistic to think that Roseto Borough or one of those smaller departments is going to be able to kick in the money that they need to kick in to get the importance that they are getting out of it. Ultimately, that comes back to us because we use that information. We need that information. We here at the DA's office. And keep in mind that I have 7 local law enforcement officers here in the office as well that have access to that as well. If it's not a coordinated effort, there's no sense in doing it.
Well, and again, I'm not disputing the functionality of it. I'm disputing the cost at this time. And also how much people in our county are actually using it for what we're claiming. It's there, it's kind of like a thing out there that we can use. But some of the data that I collected, which is different than the data that you can give me, said that only a few municipalities have actually used it in the past few years, actually sought it out and used it on actual cases. So obviously people are giving information into it, but who's actually using it and what are we paying for? And with all due respect to no one expects that the Forensic Center is something that you should pick up and use tomorrow, but I'm hoping that the conversations will begin if they have not, because we were told when we paid for that building that it was going to be a state-of-the-art forensic center, not just a morgue. And so we want to make sure that those conversations are happening to develop that. And I think this is an opportunity to start to save that money and do so.
Well, that conversation's out of my pay grade, and whether you have that conversation or not, or what was represented to you or not, is nothing that I know about. And that's all well and good, but what do we do in the meantime, even if it's possible and it's not? What we're doing is not. Now, with respect to your first issue about small other municipalities using this, I believe that. I don't know what data research you're doing, but if they're compiling police reports, then they're using the RIC. Every one of the departments are, because they're inputting their reports into the RIC. Now, if they said they don't use it, they mean that they didn't make an arrest out of it or something like that. I would like to see the your research you're referring to, because these municipalities, every one of them are using them. Now, the municipalities that are bigger, the Bethlehems, the Eastons, the Palmers, the Forks, I would suspect use this at a greater clip because they're out there making arrests and things like that, where you can use it more. But every single person that wears a badge in this county anyway, and in Lehigh County, is using the RIC. That there can be no other way. It's just too organized. And you couldn't. And if they weren't, it would be of no value to us.
You finished, Lori, for now?
I think so. I mean, I'm not pulling the amendment. It's
All right. All right. I just want to know so I can recognize Carrie. Carrie, go ahead.
I sit here listening to this conversation, and I'm listening to the DA, and the only thing that's running through my mind right now is he needs this to fight crime in my community, in my neighborhoods where I grew up. It's my people who are getting in trouble and getting killed and getting executed by gangs and craziness. And we're having a discussion about, the forensic center. The forensic center is not set up. We need this today. If all hell broke loose tomorrow and there's a clash between races, we're in a world of trouble if we don't have intelligence to get things done. I understand we're looking at budget And I understand, yes, and this is before I came on board, you built this beautiful forensic center, but you can build something and it ain't got everything. And evidently it doesn't have. And I'm listening to what the DA is saying. And what he's saying is it takes years to build the data that we need for this. We ain't got time in the neighborhoods with the people I'm dealing with. You know, only thing you're going to go down 1000 block of Ferry Street or the 1100 block of Spruce Street, and people are getting executed and killed for drugs because gangs are running things. Put yourself in my place. I got to respond to these people. You know, they may not be property holders, but they're human beings. And we need to be able to fight these crimes. And if we don't give him the tools to do what he's got to do, because yes, Easton's using it, Palmer's using it, Fortune's, Bethlem's using it. Yeah, they're all using it. But we need to understand something. These people in Easton are also a part of Northampton County, and we need to make sure he's got the tools to protect those innocent people who are going to get hurt by the crazy people we got running around with guns or trying to make money off salt. That's all I got to say.
All right, Mr. Lott.
Yeah, Kerry, I agree with everything you're saying, except for the fact that the RIC is here now. The violence that we have now, the RIC is here now solving crimes. So it's not like we don't have the RIC, we have the RIC. I think the argument here is how much are we willing to pay for the RIC? Right now,
it's 100,000.
Have to ask the DA, if we don't up our antes by 60 grand, do we get thrown out of the RIC? We're not dismantling the RIC. We just don't want to pay more money for the RIC. And we don't do good on these bi-county agreements. We always end up on the bottom end of it. This, I don't know if we would on it, because it's a little bit of security involved. It's not as easy to see how much we get out of this. But the truth is, we have the RIC now. We're not dismantling the RIC. We're just saying we don't want to pay any more money for the RIC. So everything I've heard makes sense from all parties here. Terry makes excellent points, and the RIC is valuable. I did take a tour of it. It's surveillance to unbelievable extremes. If you're on Facebook and you're on the web, they know about it. So, it's valuable. I get that, but and that's what I asked in the beginning, Terry, what are we getting more for $60 this year or $60,000 this year that we didn't get last year? Your answer was things cost more money, I believe, and it's used more, which is a good answer. More usage. If we're using it $60,000 more this year than we did last year, that's a very acceptable answer. So the RIC is not, it's not something we're inventing or trashing. It's something we're debating how much we pay for. Thank you.
Terry, before you say anything, I want to go to Bill McGee and then, okay. All right, Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, I liked what the DA said. I understand and I respect him, and I think he's doing a great job, and I think his department's doing a good job. And to what Kerry said, I understand where he's coming from, but if I think we have to look at things as a whole, as his whole department as a whole. It's not just a RIC. Kevin had a great point here, and I'm actually building on his point. It's his whole department. His whole department helps what Kerry's talking about. Everything that everybody does in there, it's an instrumental, and it all has to be funded. And there's going to be next year's coming, and then there's going to be the next budget. And what we're worried about as well with the money spend is we don't want to have him have to cut anything else with his staff that he has already. Next year you got COVID, you got budget cuts from the state. We got a lot of things. That's one of the reasons why I even thought about maybe having a part-time position for the public relations folk. And I cut that. I said, no, you know what? I believe in this position. I believe in the DA. I believe what he's talking about with this position. I think it's important. And I understand that. Give it a go. But here to Rick, we've been, slowly funding it a little more. And we're to Kevin's point, where's our line in the sand here a little bit? And maybe they need to come in and present a little bit better. Maybe the whole group of the RIC needs to come in and tell us, hey, look, this is what it is. This is what it does. And here's why. And here's how many little departments funded. And here's where the next funding's come. Because do we know where the next set of funding's coming from? That's all. I just needed to to throw my thoughts out there. Thank you.
Terry, Mr. Hauck, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. McGee, and I appreciate your concerns. The problem is there, and this goes to Mr. Lott's point as well. We will not dismantle it. We just won't be in it. And if we're not in it, then the people won't be as safe as they are right now. It's just that simple, because of the coordinated effort among these reports. It is my intention that it's my intention that $100,000 is $100,000, and they won't dictate to me how much they need and stuff. I will dictate to them. Now, we have been underpaying the RIC now for several years, and be that as it may, I was hoping that when you saw their operating budget, you would agree that $100,000 is well worth what we're paying. And keep in mind, you must keep in mind that if we're not in this RIC, okay, it will not dismantle, but it might as well be, because we won't be in it. And if we're not in it, then we will have to start paying this money individually. And it will, as I pointed out, in looking at the quoted monthly fee, just to assemble local police reports, they're talking $10,000 a year just for that. And that's not 1/10 of what we get out of the RIC. So I understand your concern, but this is not only because, but this is up and running. It's a high sophisticated type of operation. And we're literally paying pennies. If your concern is that it will cost more later, I understand that. But my argument to you would be, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We need the RIC. If we don't have the RIC, then we have nothing. We don't have the forensics. We don't have anything. And if next year I come before you again and I ask you for more money, and it is not my intention to do that, my intention is to keep it for what it is right now, then we can raise this issue now. But I don't think, if we look at this at the here and now, I think that we're asking for pennies compared to how much ultimately this will cost, and the degree to which it is keeping people safe and keeping crime down to levels that it would not be if we didn't have it. And I really, truly believe this, folks, that this helps us. This helps us keep people safe.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hauck. Is there anyone else?
Ms. Fargo Hefner has her hand up.
Thank you. I need a clarification from the DA. Are you telling me that if we don't grant $100,000, we are no longer participating in this service?
That will be up to Lehigh County. That is not up to me. So no, I'm not telling you that at all. But I know I know, and I believe we've been underpaying them for the last several years, and it will be, since this is their operation. It will be, they will tell us whether they want to accept our 100,000 or whether it will cost them more. In other words, it might not be cost effective for them to take less. This $100,000 is my proposal, was not a demand from them at all. This was my proposal. I get what I want from the RIC. They do not control us in any way. I can't emphasize that enough. This was my proposal to you. It did not come from the RIC. It did not come from Jim Martin. It didn't come from anybody in Lehigh County but me.
So I thank you for that clarification, because the way that you were talking is like, this is going to go away if we don't give $50,000 more dollars. And the data that you sent me today is a letter from Mr. Martin himself saying that he already has a grant in place, which is assuring us and allocating $275,000 on our behalf. So We're adding the 50 now. I'm asking you to have them and come and do a presentation early in the year for us so that we could revisit this as a budget amendment a little further down the road. So I wasn't saying a no, not never, not at all next year. I'm asking for 50% now, more information and clarification, and then a revisitation of the 50,000 in March or in July, whenever the first budget hearing is. And I just, because again, it like to threaten that it's going away is disturbing, considering how much money we've put in over the years, starting with the original $500,000 grant. So again, and I'm not trying to be oppositional. I want to help you do your job. I want us to be completely informed. And so I would really appreciate if we could get them in very early in the year to have this conversation.
I'm going to recognize, I believe John had his hand up, so I'm going to go to John. He hasn't spoken yet. Mr. Cusick.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I just had two quick questions. Number one is, wouldn't this be more appropriately placed in the sheriff's office as a law enforcement function? And number two, I'm looking at the latest quarterly financial report, and there's $878,362 in the drug forfeiture funds. Could some of that money be tapped for this?
Okay, to answer your
Mr. Howe?
first, yes, thank you. To answer your first question, the sheriffs, if they chose to give to the RIC, then they could do that. But the sheriffs have very limited arrest power. In fact, they can only arrest for breach of peace. So this is more an overbroad law enforcement issue that police in which we have here detectives. And we in the district attorney's office get a direct benefit of it because it helps, they help with the planning of our cases, the mapping of our cases, and things that we present in court through experts and things of that nature. So to answer your question, no, it would not be more appropriate for the sheriffs to use it. It's more appropriate for us to use it. Although it certainly benefits, it would certainly benefit them as it benefits any law enforcement agency that inputs their reports. And I believe the sheriffs do input their reports. In fact, the prison inputs their reports too, I think, from it. To answer your second question, I don't believe that since our drug forfeiture fund has to be directly related to drugs, any money that we have spending. So I don't know if we could fund this annually with the drug forfeiture fund. That's number one. And number two, because the drug forfeiture fund remains so fluid, there was no guarantee that we could fund it indefinitely through the drug forfeiture fund. We have good money in the drug forfeiture fund 1 year and then, next to nothing in it the next year. But any money that I spend on the drug forfeiture fund, number one, I'll keep very transparent. But number two, it's going to have to be directly related to drug activity. So and that's hard to map with the RIC because I don't believe that that's specific to drug.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other?
Ms. Fargo Hefner's hand is up.
Yes, Lori?
How much money are we giving to the Petzold?
Can you shut that? Can you shut that? Thank you. I'm sorry. What was that?
It's okay. Go ahead, Lori.
How much money are we giving to the Petzold Center?
I believe we give the Petzold Center 35 or 40,000 a year. I have to look at that.
You have another question, Lori?
No, I thought it was about 50, but I wasn't sure. And I wasn't sure how to find it in the budget. I don't know if Steve's available, if he can help me.
Well, we'll talk amongst ourselves for now and we'll drag them up if we need. Any other council members? I sat with the DA myself. I had a meeting with him because I wanted to get a better sense. So, I mean, my take is from our meeting, I don't know much about, I know law enforcement and the fact that I see the police cars and I've been in police buildings and talked to the DA over the years. But I mean, I guess we have a new DA after 30 years, we have a new DA and he's going to look at things in a different light. But I think what Kerry said, and this always rings with me, is that crime is regional now. It's just not, it's not, I guess, living in Bethlehem here. I know there's no respect for a line anywhere. So, and it's not so much a bi-county effort. I mean, in the sense that I don't look at this like Atlanta or one of those other things. So I learned a lot sitting with the DA. I mean, he is the chief law enforcement officer of the county. My concern is, and it's the concern that's been pointed out by Lori and some others, is that when the forensic center was presented to us, a lot was said about what was going to happen and what would be accomplished. And at least from what I've been hearing, going into looking into things about crime, the problem was nobody bothered to have a conversation with the chief law enforcement officer of the county about what the forensic center can do or will do. And So that concerns me greatly. I mean, I'm glad we have a forensic center. I think we needed a new morgue. There's no question about it. The finding out after the fact that maybe some of the things that were brought up are hopes as opposed to plans regarding the forensic center is a little troubling. But so, I mean, you know, this is a matter of trusting in what you think, what you know and what you don't know. And I admit there's a lot I don't know when it comes to law enforcement, crime fighting. So I guess I'm going to support giving him his money, but you know, a lot of it is because I just don't know. Just like we had a long discussion about the affordable housing, and this to me is every bit as important. So I don't know. I personally, I can't support this based on what I just said. So anybody else want to have anything to say before we call for the vote? Oh, Mr. McGee.
Yeah, one more thing. I will be supporting this, but I will also be supporting them coming in front of council and explaining a little bit more about the process. There's so much we don't know about this. And to be quite frank, to support it in the future for the amendment coming in the spring. Just need more information. That's all.
Okay. Now, a question would come up then if you do have somebody come in and make a presentation. I mean, as far as the RIC goes, where would you get the $50,000 from? I mean, not the DA, but where would we? Yeah, Lori, go ahead.
So what mechanism do we have to set this money aside for future disbursement?
Well, you can go hat in hand to fiscal affairs next year if this passes, and see if they're willing to find it for you. They may say go take it out of your contingency, but unless you specify it, and anybody can join in on this, unless you specify a specific place to park this extra money, it goes into the general fund. John, would you agree?
Yeah, one alternative is you could move it to the council contingency if you wanted to, and then disperse it from there.
Yeah, I mean,
Would that
go ahead.
would that be a separate amendment, or would that be a modification of this amendment?
Well, I think it would be a modification of this amendment that you would pass on Thursday. That could be put together and you'd have Thursday, if this in fact passes today. If the majority is to move this forward, then that can be readied along with it, if that's what you want to do. Yes.
I would be willing to do so.
All right.
Because I would be keeping to my word that we're holding the money and waiting to hear further information.
All right. I'm going to go then to Carrie. I'm going to let you speak at the here, but I want to go to Carrie first. Carrie Myers had his hand up. Go ahead.
Here's my concern. I hear what you're saying about money in the whole 9 yards. It drives me insane. I'm more concerned with, we're going to bring these people in from the RIC to explain to us what they're doing. To my question to the DA, how much can they actually tell us in public that can jeopardize future charges on people?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna let him answer that, but first I want to go to Bill McGee. He may have a follow-up question as well. Bill, go ahead.
Well, just to clarify Kerry's question, not to speak over him or speak on his behalf, but I think what I mentioned about bringing them in, and not so much what they do. I know what they do. I don't know everything they do. I have a good idea what they do at that center. But I think we need to know a little bit more about the finances and the future finances, and where the funding's coming from. We couldn't answer those. I didn't hear we asked if anything was coming from municipal. We thought maybe state. Now there's not state. Is it federal? That's what we need to get clarified on.
All right.
That's why
I hear
Bill has the floor. Bill has.
So long.
I'm sorry, Bill. What? Go ahead. finish that.
Well, the funding has been pushed down the road to this point. I mean, that's what the problem is. There wasn't funding going on for many years, and that's what, here we are. And
Right.
again, just, oh, well, we found it. We found the money. Here it is. Then pay for it. So, and to Lori Vargo's point, just somewhere a line has to be in the sand, and somebody has to explain. And the DA's done a great job explaining. I just think that, I think there's still more that we need to find more, a little bit more out. That's all. That's all we're asking.
All right, Terry, do you have anything you want to say? I guess we're going to end up going to a vote then.
Okay, yeah, I just, to answer Councilman Meyer's point, there is information obviously that's classified that they won't be able to share, but they'll be able to give the crux of whatever you need information wise. But with that said, I don't know that they're going to tell you anything that you didn't know when you were giving them the initial $500,000. I just don't know the answer to that. To Councilman McGee's point, I sent the operating budget up. I don't know if that satisfied you or not. The Lehigh County has been funding this on their own. They've been attempting to get other district attorneys' offices involved in that, but I don't know the success. But I suspect that if they do have success in the future, that they'll be funded from those district attorneys' offices as well. But I also know that a large part of what they've done has been grant money. I don't know that I would agree with the fact that they've been pushing it down the road. I don't know that that's accurate or inaccurate. I never got the impression they were pushing it down the road. I mean, this is not a complicated issue with me. This is something that we involve ourselves in. We use it a ton. Municipalities use it a ton, and it was a very small price that we're paying, and the price that we're paying now, I believe, again, if this becomes unavailable to us, will be a drop in the bucket to what we're going to have to pay.
All right, thank you. Now, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Did you want to?
I just don't understand the, let's pay some now and pay later. I mean, nothing will change. It's all going to be the same. You know what I mean? I mean, there's not going to be any aha moments or anything like that. This was a figure that I came up with based on the amount we use. We use the facility.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, it's a new DA. The past DA had his own ideas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give everybody one last round on this, and then we're going to go to the vote. So Mr. Myers had his hand up. So Terry, you go ahead.
I'm just trying to, in my mind, justify, how much money we're worried about. Well, I understand the concerns being fiscal responsibility, but how much money is a life worth? That's all I got to say.
Are there any other council members that have anything they want to add before we call for the vote? All right, so just so you know, a vote yes means that you're supporting withdrawing $50,000. A vote no means that you are opposed to withdrawing, the $50,000. Ms. Zembo, call the roll.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
No.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
No.
Ms. Zirinsky,
No.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 5-3.
All right. So this amendment, as it's written, will go forward to the full council meeting. And if
Can't believe it.
if you want, this, as I've said from the very beginning, this was a consensus of 5-3 move that this should be done. Could that change on Thursday? I have no idea, but if Mr. Houck wants to send further communications between now and Thursday, he's welcome to do that. If somebody wants to reach out to him, they're welcome to do that. So with that, we're going to move on to the
I have
next.
one question. How
Yes.
do I change this to add the money piece to it?
Talk to Linda. She'll
Mr.
work. Linda will help you
Mr.
word. It's a basic, you're just changing wording. I mean, what you'd have today is the essence of what you want to do. All you're going to do is range where you want the money to go.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Howe.
Yep, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Now we're going to go on to capital improvement plan amendment. Capital improvement projects, the jail tier renovation. Indicate, note to myself, Mr. Kusick made an amendment to take $1,537,600 from this project unless there was a satisfactory presentation at the Capitals. Can anybody hear me? Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah.
At the Capital Projects and Operations Committee meeting. John, you still want to proceed with this amendment?
Yeah, I want to set this aside for now, and then I'll just reserve the right to reintroduce it depending upon what we see on Thursday at the committee meeting.
Fine. Yeah, we'll set it aside and you have the opportunity to represent it. All right, next we go to, I believe it's the Public Works Bridges. Again, Mr. Kusick made an amendment to add $1 million for the replacement of the Meadows Bridge for this year. You want to make a motion, John, and explain this?
Yeah. Let me clarify this first. This is not a budget amendment, okay? What this is an amendment to the capital improvement plan.
Yes.
Within the budget right now, under Act 13, there exists at least $2 million that is, again, unaccounted for, that we get from the state for infrastructure. What was indicated in the White Book was that this is one of the projects is the Meadows Road Bridge. So what I am proposing doing is adding the Meadows Road Bridge project to the capital improvements plan. So the money is already there. There's no budget amendment. This is an amendment to the capital improvements plan. And what it would do is it would indicate that we want to make replace that bridge as part of our plan short term. Okay. I think we've all seen by now that whether or not we get state funding for any of these projects is completely up in the air because of what just transpired in Harrisburg. So I think that it would be a good idea for us to say, let's go out, let's see what a bid looks like to do this. And I think one of the things that I'd like to see is if we could do like a historic replica. I know that's been a big part of the controversy. Why not go out for bid, see what it would cost, and make a historic replica part of the bid package that they would add to it. And then it would come back to council and we could say yes or no, or, if it's far beyond the $2 million, we could just throw it out. But I think waiting 6 years at the minimum to move forward on this in any way, to me, is just unacceptable. So it's ultimately, this is our bridge, and I think we ought to take the responsibility. The state gives us this money through Act 13 specifically for projects like this. I just feel that it's important that we add it to the capital improvements plan. Again, the money is already in the Act 13 portion of the budget. So I'll make that motion to move this amendment to the capital improvements plan.
I'll second.
Very good. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, second, Carrie. Discussion. Ms. Vargo Hefner.
Yeah, I'm in favor of fixing the bridge. We also are in litigation through the GPA to get about $6 million back, which would also go to helping. I guess there's 8 bridges in question, and that's one of them. I'm concerned if we do that and we put it on there, are we then bound to do whatever? Because there's controversy over how that should be fixed. And I agree with what you're saying, but there are some people that like will absolutely not agree to that. And they want it exactly repaired the way it is. And does it encumber us to have to do so if we vote yes for this?
I'll answer that. The answer is absolutely not. The capital improvements plan is just that. It's a plan. There are projects that sit on that list for years and years and years, and there's some that get done in relatively short order. But by adding it to the list, what we are telling the folks in Lower Saucon Township is that, you know, we're going to be responsible to fix that bridge if in fact state funding does not come through.
All right, let me just add, I'll recognize you, but let me just add, yeah, anything you see from the county that has plan in it generally is something that may or may not ever happen. So the 5-year plans were always the greatest example because I don't know how many of them actually followed through with it. But Ms. Zirinsky had her hand up.
Yeah, so I have 2 questions. One is, if do we have to allocate funding to this project in order to put it on the list? Or can we just say that we'd like the capital projects to get a bid for it and then we'll fund it? And also, the bridge is ours. So if anybody's going to fix it, obviously it's going to be us. I don't think that we have to put money towards this to send a message to Lower Saucon to say that we're going to fix it because we're the only ones who can. It's our bridge. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, somewhat. There has been a question of whether or not this could be funded through the TIP. And it appears less and less likely that that will occur anytime in the near future or even in the distant future. So what we are saying is that we intend to fix it. And to answer your first question, we do not need to allocate any additional money. Okay, the money is already there. It's under the Act 13 portion of the budget. And in the white book, it indicates already that the intention was to spend it on 3 bridges. One of them is done, okay? So there's no more need for that. The second one, Mr. Emili told us about. It's the one down in Williams Township on Cressman Road. Okay, so that would take 700,000 to 800,000 was his estimate. That left over $2 million of Act 13 funds that we have from the state to do infrastructure projects. Now, so we don't need to make a budget amendment. All we are trying to do here is amend the capital improvements plan to say that we want this done in a timeline that we think is better suited, given the fact that we already have a significant amount of funds. Now, if we don't have enough, if it goes out to bid and we don't have enough money, well then, you know, we can just reject the bids. But what I would like to see is a bid process move forward so that we actually find out how much it would cost to do this. And without solid bids from responsible contractors, we really don't know what it will cost to get this done. But we do have a significant amount of funding to move the process forward, which is not happening from the state. And all
Hold it. Finish, John, and then John, are you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me just add. Hold it. Let me just add. I mean, we can put it on the capital improvements plan without any money attached. You're attaching money to give it emphasis.
Correct.
Yeah.
All the money, in order to put something on the capital improvements plan, you do have to make a reasonable estimate as to what you believe it would cost moving forward. Sometimes those estimates are accurate, sometimes they're not. I use these numbers based on what I've seen from previous bridge projects. So could this be more? Could it be less? Absolutely. But I just based it off of some of the numbers that I've seen over the years for bridge replacement projects.
All right.
But
Kara, you
I
had a
don't feel,
follow-up.
yeah, I don't feel like the question was exactly answered. We can have this on, because what Ron just said is that we could have this on that list and the intention could be there. The money can stay in Act 13. That's not going anywhere.
Correct.
We know that it's there. If we get a proposal and we put this on the, if we put this on the list, we don't necessarily have to reshuffle money because that's all that you're asking to do is to shuffle money from Act 13 to the capital projects so that we can have the intention or send the intention that we're going to fix this bridge in less than 6 years.
No,
All
we're
right,
not.
John, and then Bill McGee.
Sure. This wouldn't shuffle any money. Putting something on the, okay, again, there's a capital improvements plan, which is different from the capital improvements portion of the budget. The plan is just something that we intend to do over the next few years. I just want to tell the folks that we're not going to wait 6, 10, however many years, that we intend to work on this and at least move something forward in a more timely fashion.
All right, before I go to Billy, Mr. Solicitor, did you want to say something?
Unmute.
You're muted. You're muted. For once, we can't hear you.
Your
Unmute.
computer.
You're muted.
Who's muted?
Christopher
Chris.
Spadoni.
Oh,
Unmute yourself.
There he
You are
goes.
unmuted by host, okay.
Thank you.
With the permission of the chair, I have a scheduled 7 PM Stockertown Borough Zoning Hearing Board meeting, which is advertised for 7 PM. May I be excused?
Go with peace and love.
Thank you, and be healthy.
You too. Stay healthy. Put that little mask on. All right, Bill McGee, go ahead.
I only was curious, the Act 13 contingent fund, I'm afraid of tying, I guess we're not tying the money up, but we kind of are in a way. Two things. One of them is I'd hate to put a plan out there and then, and I know it's a waiting game and it's sometimes, but yeah, like the state money, are we sacrificing state money by putting it in our contingency, in our plan is the one concern, right? Because, you know, if you can get it built for free, it might take a little bit longer, but you can get it built for free. Did you look at that? I know it's a patience thing here. Apparently that's what I'm hearing.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to John, but I want to recognize, I was going to say, I just see him coming up now. If somebody from the administration wanted to weigh in, and I see Mr. McClure with his hand up. So I'm going to recognize Mr. McClure at this moment, and then we can get back to council or John or whoever. Mr. McClure?
So I agree with Mr. Cusick. None of us are satisfied with the rapidity, or in this case, the lack thereof in the replacement of bridge number 15. Although this has been an issue that dates back to the 1970s. And over the last 20 years, it's been a pretty hot issue in Northampton County, what to do with Bridge 15. So actually, this administration has made a ton of progress getting Bridge 15 onto the tip. It is on the Transportation Improvement Program at this moment. What that means is once the bridge gets built, the state will cover 80% of the costs of improving that bridge, which can be upwards of $3 million. We'll be responsible for 20%. Now, what you need to know, council, is we have already encumbered about $90,000 towards the completion of either the repair or the replacement of this bridge. And we've spent approximately $50,000 to $60,000 already in conjunction with PennDOT moving forward. Again, I agree with Mr. Cusick. This process has been too slow, but we're pushing. You know how hard we're pushing on the Lehigh Valley Transportation Study. We continue to do that. Mr. Emili's doing great work on that. PennDOT and Federal Highways are talking right now about what the final decision will be in terms of repair or replace. Everybody's leading toward replace. because that's the only sensible thing to do. The lines of sight are unsafe on that bridge, so it makes it difficult to repair. The hydraulics are such that you can have tremendous flooding down there, so it makes it more likely that you don't repair a obsolete forearch. And these are the things that you're doing going forward. And we should know, Mr. Cusick, within the next year, exactly what the timetable will be for the bridge. I want to repair it as much as you do. I actually want to replace it. I don't think repair is an option. So I just wanted to give that context. We already have 90,000 encumbered. We've already sunk 50 or 60,000 in, and we're going to get this done. And we're going to have we're having it done in the tip, and PennDOT's going to pick up 80% of it, as opposed to Northampton County picking up 100% of it, which I don't think is necessarily the most fiscally prudent way to proceed if we can get it done in a relatively timely fashion. And I'm continuing to press on that. Thank you.
All right. Why do you look so good on the camera and some of us look like ghosts? I don't know. You get special lighting put in our chamber, Mr. McClure? All right. John, go ahead. I can't hear you.
It's because Aileen muted me. Thank you for unmuting me. I look good because 2/3 of my face is covered with a mask.
Yeah, the only follow-up I have is I wish I could be as optimistic as Mr. McClure is. I've been here with him for quite some time. I would agree with him that, yes, it does have to be replaced. And ultimately, this money from Act 13 is state money. So would it be preferable if we could get this done on the tip? Absolutely. But I just don't see that happening anytime in the near future, and perhaps not even in the distant future, given what we've seen. The county has the state money from Act 13. I think it's time that we at least investigate what would be involved, and we get some realistic cost estimates and see what it would involve for us to use the Act 13 money.
Oh, we lost Ron.
Where'd he go?
There, he's there.
Ron?
Muted, muted,
Am I here?
not muted.
We are,
For my battery, I was sitting and I had to reposition myself. My computer just went off. The battery, I had it charging all night. I haven't used it till now.
Can't hear you, Ron.
Just for the course of this, I shouldn't be muted.
Did you, Ron, what are you doing? Because we can't hear you.
I'm not doing anything.
Okay.
Better.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's got her hand up.
My power just went out on the computer. I mean, I don't know how, our meeting was only about an hour and a half or so long. I can't believe that the battery died on me, but I ran over and plugged it in. So I'm back. Okay. This is really weird. It's totally different. Okay. All right. Anyway, so where were we? The executive spoke. John, if you wanted to speak.
Ms. Fargo Hefner has her hand up.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
I agree with getting this bridge done, but I also think that we said very clearly, and especially when Miss Bradley came in.
Oh, here we are.
Have a meeting early, one of the first orders of business in the year, to discuss this bridge and have all the entities that have a piece in it in to get this moving forward, including that state group. Because maybe I didn't hear her, but she said, give me a plan and I'll get it done. So I think we're going to have Mr. Amelie show up along with her friend from the state, along with herself. And let's get those numbers at the beginning of the year.
Okay. See, I have a Christmas tree behind me now. So anyway,
and that had what to do with what I was saying?
All right. Does anybody, since I nodded out of this meeting and bounced back in, did somebody else have their hand up? I know John and I briefly talked about this, and look, I agree. Everybody said we got to get this done. In fact, I would like council to have some kind of commitment in some direction before the end of 2021, letting these poor people know what the plan is to actually fix their bridge. There's been a lot of talk, and Lori just said something, and this is the weird thing. I mean, we have a lawsuit going on regarding the PP3. We have Ms. Bradley telling us, oh, we'd gladly do it, but you didn't put it on a list. Mr. Mealy said that's not the case. So this is one particular instance where I agree with you in spirit, John, but I don't know if I'm willing to put money towards it at this point, because like the executive said, I mean, if we've just had a long discussion over 50,000, I mean, if we can get this done by somebody else, but I certainly would like to have council next year to make a commitment to these poor people that there's going to be a plan in place before the end of 2021. And now if we can get that plan cemented with somebody else's money, that's great. But one way or another, got to have a plan. Go ahead, Ms. Hefner.
I would not want to do anything to jeopardize the idea that the state would be picking up the cost.
Right.
If they are anywhere down the road, I wouldn't want them to say, okay, well, we'll pick up less. But I appreciate that he's saying we have the money, we've got to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, it's
The
got to
timeline.
I don't want to jeopardize the money, but no, that's the reason I can't support the money at this point, John. But I certainly support the notion that we should get the thing done. And hopefully the administration will agree with us, and we'll all work fast, expeditiously next year to come up with a definite plan. Does anybody else have anything they want to add to this?
So just one thing.
Gary Myers.
Just one thing to clarify this. We're putting this on hold to wait and see if we get state money. Even though we know that we own this bridge and we got to replace it.
That's what's being said. But John's proposal is to put it on in the capital projects plan and allocate the $2 million towards it as a reasonable estimate. If you vote yes, that's what you're doing. If you vote no, we won't do that. So that's basically, did that clear anything up for you, Gary?
It cleared it up, but I second his motion on that because I just don't want folks to be waiting forever for this bridge to be fixed down in where Lori's from. Okay.
Yeah, and I think some of it too is this historic thing, because I'm still not clear on that. I mean,
Yeah,
I agree with the executive. I used to go over that bridge all the time to go to clam bakes at the Meadows. I mean, old isn't always historic. I mean, maybe it's historic. That seems right. If it's really historic, I think it's going to be replaced with a straightforward 2-lane bridge that's functional. And I think most of the citizens that need that bridge will be, thank God we have a bridge that works. If somebody's saying, no, it has to be done a certain way, show me the law, show me the rationale. But so I'm not moved at this point, other than to say that to those poor people out there, that the word gets out that we want to get this thing done. We've got to come up with something within the next year. At least let them know this is it. This is what we're doing. That's my 2 cents. Anybody else have anything to say before we vote? If not, Linda, call the vote.
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Come back to me, please.
pardon me?
Come back to me.
Okay. Mr. Lot,
No.
Mr. McGee,
No.
no?
No.
Okay. Ms. Fargo Hefner,
No.
Ms. Zirinsky,
No.
Mr. Giovanni,
No.
Mr. Heckman,
No.
Mr. Myers.
No.
Fails by a vote of 1 to 7.
All right. Now, as far as I can tell, and I'm in Christmas City right now, I had to leave my my office. I don't have papers in front of me. I believe that was the last thing on our agenda.
Yes.
Okay, very well. So first, let me thank everybody. This went smooth. It went well. I think people were very respectful of each other, and I appreciate your help in all of this. As of now, I mean, we are going to have a virtual meeting on Thursday. I don't see any reason why we can't. I'm concerned, as you all are, with what's going on with the COVID. I think we only have to stay focused for a short time, and I think we'll come out at the other end. But I think we're all set. And as far as any questions or concerns regarding amendments, talk to Linda. She can help you with the wording. And that's it. So do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make a motion.
All right, Linda, take from that what you will. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
I'll see you Thursday.
John, I have a question for you.